YouTube, what's up? Crown Tantra, 2020 Tantra, now available, info in the description. I know I've said this in my last video a lot of times, but this feels like this is it. I've written this out. I'm going to do this as humble as possible so people can absorb as much as possible without identifying with resistance or separation in any way, just to take this in, because this I don't need to say anymore. To say anymore after this takes away from what I've already said. You should watch my last videos from back then. Before they all get deleted, just watch them while you can. But check that out while you can. So, one eye. One visualizer in darkness split into two eyes. This happened by looking at its dream reflection. Those two eyes saw their reflection. That's Adam and Eve, or soul mating. Upon acceptance of reflection, the eye becomes one again. Re-arrival, or rebirth. This is the one begotten Son. This is the creation reality. The source accepts not knowing. If you identify as the source and you accept not knowing, then that which doesn't know will show itself. So you are the consciousness. That which doesn't know is the subconscious. The subconscious is the intuition. It doesn't know how it knows itself. So if the consciousness accepts that it doesn't know, then its body, its energy manifests to accept its consciousness. It's a dualistic thing if you want to even make dualistic out of it, but there's no separation. This is just the process of creation. So, the consciousness is compelled to act. So it has to negate its level of awareness to take bodily form. Reduction is production. Bodily form, or the body, is the subconscious. The subconscious is compelled to be still. It desires rest. That's why people that identify with the body are concerned with the rest of their lives and the days of the week. The subconscious desires rest. The consciousness desires motion. Emotion. Ether, motion. Because that's expansion. Ripples in the pool. That's the masculine principle, the consciousness. The intuitive principle, that which doesn't even know how it knows, that's the subconscious. Both of these faculties are in every human being on earth. It's just about realizing and accepting those faculties. So once the unknown is accepted, creation happens unknowingly. So once creation happens, creation is the dream. Reaction then ensues. So you have unknowing creation. Then you have reaction. That's why creation and reaction are the same letters. So you have a dream. Then you have a life. You close your eyes. You project. Then you realize the projection. That is how creation works. Accept the darkness. Close your eyes. Then the light shows itself, the dream. Then you experience it. It's acceptance. Seeing is living. Acceptance is sight. Allowing the light in by being the darkness that you are, the projector. Light is projected darkness. So you have light or life, L-I-E-F, which I have tattooed right here. You have life, which is the reaction to the unknowing creation. Once consciousness and subconscious merge, you have unknowing creation, because that which is unfathomable is the eternally real. So as consciousness expands, the creation happens in a blink of an eye. Kids, the grandkids, kids, that's all happening in the projection. That's already happening, just from the one ripple. As you bring that back to its source, you have a greater sense of oneness. So the masculine pushes for kids to push to expand experiences. And then that has to return to its source. And upon the return of that expansion, you have a greater sense of oneness. The circle in the center grows. So that's how consciousness, you could say consciousness grows. Or experience grows. And how the source is experiencing through you. And when you do redundant experiences, the source will plot to kill itself through you. The subconscious, the body will plot to kill itself if you don't use the energy coming through you for expression. To make yourself happy. Because life wants you to be happy. That's how you teach people how to be happy. Express that, then life reflects that. All the problems in your life that have been done to you, all the things that you've done to you, that's what you've done. I thought my Wi-Fi disconnected. That's what you did to you before in your last life. You are probably one of your grandparents that did this, that created this, that made the whole ripple. So you live in your life, you create, and then all those lifetimes happen, then you accept that, and then you live your life backwards, and then you meet your children that you created throughout those lifetimes of unconsciousness. Because it was all a blink. That's all a blink. As soon as you have one kid, that's one, you create a line. And so that creates a line, so that's all in a blink. So then you go to, if you are conscious now, then when you go to sleep, you wake up in your grandchild. You align your grandchild. Then you go to sleep in that dream, and then that one aligns its grandchild. Then you have eternity. Then you have eternity. Then you have eternal expansion of experience, and then you can just pass nuggets back and forth to each other forever. Because you know yourself in all lifetimes, dark to light, the whole color wheel, the whole thing connects. There's no separation in it. So, going forward, while you're doing this process of returning to the source, that blocks the return. So going out means that you have to repeat this inward process again. That means you have to totally realize yourself, totally undo all the karmas that you created in your ripples that you made the unconscious kids with. Make them conscious so that you can fix the ripples now. So then you become totally self-aware, and then you can make another ripple from that state of being. So allowance. It's all about allowance. Allowance is money or motion. So you allow for the motion to ensue so that you can dance effortlessly. Let the subconscious do its thing. That's what brings you back to your source. Allowance. That's what brings you back to the mother, the right brain, or the heart. It's a direct connection. So as you get back to that, then you get back to the unknown, back to the darkness, back to your dreams. And then you realize your dreams. If you get back to the darkness, then you can accept light, and then you can live the dream. But as long as you're not doing that, then somebody is living your light dream, your breatharian dream. Someone's living in that light body, living that limitless life. And you're not accepting that. As soon as you accept that, then you start to remember that dream. So the consciousness, again, is the male that expands. Then you return to the mother. That's the eternal subconscious. And then a greater sense of oneness is shared. Okay, so plasma. Plasma screens, the blood. Okay, this is the screen pass from self to self. There's nothing against you, ever. So if you realize the universal process and don't try to tamper with it, then you can accept everything as you. And realize that if you get to happy, that's the finish line and a starting line. As you realize happiness, then you just meet people from there. And then you don't try to force people to get there, because then you have to go out of happiness to try to get back to it. It doesn't make sense. So the screen pass from yourself to yourself, which is this eternal consciousness projection that we have through our bodies and through our children, because the seed is eternity. So nobody's against you, all are you, and through the blood we are all connected. So with the Facebook, my Facebook, and YouTube, and same, YouTube, Facebook, it's the same thing. It's all reflections, it's all mirrors. So these are subconscious projections. These are eternally in the air. They play these same movies until they're realized. These movies are, until we breathe these movies in, express them, project them, realize and accept, and everybody's doing that on the YouTube, then it's all there. This is the Akasha being crystallized, basically. That's what's happening. This is your breadcrumb trail back to yourself. This is forever here. This time and space is here as a lesson for you to return to eternity. So you breathe it in, you express these lessons, then you get to the next one. Then you just keep them going out so you can keep the new ones coming in, so you just keep the flow. So the darkness that has been projected and scrambled and lost itself, has lost itself until people have realized this point now. They've fathered a reality. They've accepted a bandwidth or a light spectrum that could father me, you, anybody watching this. We're all reflections. So anybody that's realizing themselves, the self, in this process of now, or whatever you want to call it, we were scrambled until a point where the subconscious finally allowed for an era. We were pressurized. The bodies were finally in a place where they can metabolize that light and express these stories that are us. And as that happens, we return back to the source, back to ourself. So it's just a crystallization of light. It's a story. The Matrix is a crystallization of light. It's a story, a movie that's playing for eternity that we as souls can synchronize with to evolve from. It's for realization. Realization, not materialization. Materializing is falling. Realization is returning. I don't want to say ascension or rising, because that creates a falling and rising paradigm. Realizing is just return, re-arrival. The entire time consciousness fell into separation, they, you, me, were studying outwardly and chasing. We were thinking we were doing something good or bad. We were thinking, we just had ideas of things. So we were trying, which is dying, to control. We were trying to trap the happy. For our, selfishly though, like in the most conditional, loving way you can, like for your children, your reflections, to control them so that you can appear a certain way to yourself and to them, and to the world, all living in perception and not really living in the reality. So as you do that, you further fragment into a light spectrum of unconsciousness as you trap the happy. So because the light is the happiness, the blood, as it cycles. And the blood cycles, it reminds the other areas of the body of the source. That's why they heal. It's reminders. When you eat food, it reminds you of your energy. When people come around you that are themselves, they remind you of yourself. You come around a crystal, it reminds you of yourself. Sage oil reminds you that you're the sage. Everything's a reminder. You don't get anything from anything. When you're trying to get something, you're forgetting instead of forgiving. That's the difference between producer and parasite right there. When you reconcile with yourself, the whole world reconciles with you. When you accept yourself, the whole world accepts you. So, as you got fragmented unconsciously, because you can't kill yourself, you can only wake up from a dream where you died, or you can unconsciously, subconsciously manifest into killing a projection of you, which would be a family member. You unconsciously, and people around you unconsciously synchronize to push that energy out of this light spectrum. That's the only way you can kill yourself. That way, or you wake up from a dream where you died. You never die. You never die from the first person perspective. And the only people that can die in those ways, as far as your projections, are your unconscious family members. So when they do that, upon that, then they return to you if you are the conscious one. Somebody got to breathe the family back. The people became their expressions more and more. They became their projections, their children. They're trying to control, so then they became controlled. Once the I is totally absent, and once a child is born with absolute absence of self and develops within a light spectrum that has a chance at overlapping with infinite light in their lifetime, which is us. Once that happens, the light shows itself. Then all the unconscious behaviors of all people, all lifetimes, they're realized and accepted and collapse. This allows for the next phase of undoing, aka creation. This is realizing the potential. This is hyperspace. This is the quantum jump, the leap year of 2020. So, have you a still day. One still day where you're conscious of every breath the entire day, and you can take your quantum leap. That's all it takes. One day. One day of total stillness, if you can do it. If you can put everything off and just be, or everything put everything on, in, whatever, however you want to look at it, and just be still for a single day. You'll be alive tomorrow. Be still for a whole day. Be totally conscious for an entire day. Or practice at that until you realize that point, and then you realize how you're just a time machine. An organic time machine. So, undoing means remaining conscious while allowing the universal rhythms of the subconscious to unfold. So you're not seeing separation from the people outside of you. Then you can see their infinitude. Then you realize the natural process. Then you never tamper with the natural process. Because you know that as soon as you tamper with yourself. Power over others is loss of power of yourself. So you just meet them at happy. So you realize your route inward to oneness, the no resistance route, which is heaven. And you realize that this is a natural process for everything and everyone. And it only takes a blink. Once you get to that point, it's only a blink away for them to get to that point. Because it shows you everybody's route once you know yours. Once you go yours, not know it. Because knowing is dying. Heal yourself of all knowing. You never fear anything once you get to the state of realization. You never fear the death, the outward death. Why? At what point? They return to you. Just meet them at happy. And if you're really truly a happiness in the dark, a match in the dark, and you breathing, you'd be a beacon for them to return to once they pass over. So trying to force others forces you to lose focus on you. You are the one begotten Son. The seed is your spine or your brain. That's the sperm that is you. That is the heart and the organs. The heart and the organs are your egg. The heart and the organs, and that's all, the tissue and all that, that's the egg. The spine and the brain, that's the sperm that is you. The ribs, that's the connection, right? That's why Adam, the rib, Adam and the connection of Adam and Eve is the rib. That's what that is about. And rib is 992. 2 is separation, if you do any numerology or gematria. So your voice inside yourself is the echo of the source. The further you get from the silence, the more distorted the voice is. Mercury regulates the voice. Study you, your family, your closest reflections. The portal dates and their birth dates. Study the leap years. Realize that a lot of days are the exact same day. They might just seem a day apart. But the leap years convolute things. The closer you get to the unknown history, the closer you are to creation. That's the new memories. Crown Tantra.